As they like to say in the cliched world, I was born ready. Are you ready, Mike?
I was born free. Bow, bow, bow.
I will fire you from the show that bears your name for singing Kid Rock within the first 10 seconds of our show.
I thought that was Springsteen.
Get out of your own fucking house right now.
It's all the same. It's up there with Mellencamp.
Yeah, the difference is Kid Rock's a fucking Trump supporter. That didn't take long again.
Ooh, we should ask him if we could use that as our intro song.
No. Let's see. If we were going to use a Kid Rock song for our entrance, I think it should, if anything, be the Undertaker's old theme of "I am American Badass," and then hit the Metallica riff.
I'm not feeling it.
No? Are you scared? Do you see what I did there? All right. Welcome everybody. It is Shoedogg and Mike.
What is happening on today's episode, by the way?
Well,
you didn't tell me, and I came with nothing.
How does every show
Are you
start?
talking about the bubbly?
A little bit of the bubbly? Well, there's something, and I got something in a brown bag here.
Okay.
And you never got another glass.
I have one right here.
Oh, you're using that. Okay. So obviously this particular type of beverage comes equipped with needing a special type of glass. Now, we are representing our local home region today from the Bangor, Pennsylvania area, Northampton County here south of the Poconos. I brought from our local winery, Tolino's Vineyards.
Hey.
They are Papa's Red. I enjoy a good red wine every now and again, and so we're going to have some of this to start off with.
Yeah, red wine makes me sloppy, but I'll still drink it.
We'll go light on yours.
You don't have to go super late. I'm not going to get sloppy from one glass, but that's just usually why I don't drink wine.
Yeah, well, recall, what is it? 5 ounces of vino is the equivalent of a serving, a shot,
You know what my other
or
problem
a
is
beer.
with drinking red wine?
It gives you red shits?
Always makes me think of Caligula. Did you ever see that movie? Fucked up shit, dude. Wrong in many ways.
I know what it sort of amounts to.
Okay, so I'll summarize it for you. The reason I don't drink red wine has a lot to do with the fact that Caligula, in the movie, would tie off a dude's piss tunnels and force him to drink wine. And then when he got totally bloated and was in excruciating pain, he'd stab him in the stomach with a sword. And all the wine would come out.
Wow, I thought the main claim to fame of Caligula was just all kinds of weird sexy time scenes. I know, what's his name?
It was a Penthouse production.
I was going to say Penthouse. What's the fella's name? I'm drawing a blank who, not Larry Flint, that was Hustler. I want to say Al something was the guy's name who ran...
Mr. Penthouse.
Yeah, Mr. Penthouse.
I never looked at Penthouse. I was either Hustler or Playboy when I was a kid.
Well, Penthouse was when you just wanted those big, fat, gaping pussy shots.
And then computers where you can turn anything into a big, fat, gaping pussy shot if you know how to zoom in.
Playboy showed you classy ladies who crossed their legs.
Yeah, they were like, oh, look, we get naked too. And then in Hustler, they were like, how many dicks?
And in Penthouse, it was like, go elbow deeper, it don't count.
Yeah, they always had the close-ups. And when we were kids...
It was disgusting. You're like, what the hell is that thing? I don't want to go close to that.
Yeah, the zooming was a lot for the magazine
page. Little overblown, if you will.
The people who did visual layout for those magazines had the sweet gig.
Oh, my God.
And they made the Caligula movie, so that's why I don't drink red wine. But let's try some of this. We're going to raise a wine glass to a Metallica Ride the Lightning pint glass and get into some of this Papa Red.
Yeah.
Let's see what we think. Smooth.
I'm no connoisseur, but it's tasty by me.
Smooth.
It's going to make for an interesting show, I believe.
Anyway, this shit's good.
It is. So, I wanted to use that as we drink our local wine. I think it's a worthwhile thing, because podcasts are, you can be listening to this in right down the road from us, or you can be listening to it in bloody Zimbabwe. And I must say, welcome to all of our listeners in Zimbabwe.
I've been listening to more podcasts lately.
Oh yeah. No, there's we both got some we want to shout out to here in a little bit. But so on my way driving over here today, I experienced one of the things that, again, maybe our friends who don't live in Pennsylvania or certainly don't live in a rural area wouldn't quite understand, and that was the driving about 2 miles down the road behind very, very slow farm machinery.
Oh yeah,
this fucking
that's what people around here think a traffic jam is. They think it's 9 cars behind a tractor.
That's exactly what it was. This thing was 1.5 lanes wide. It was like something that could, hoe a 15-foot wide swath. It's still not as bad as actually getting stuck behind like a fucking horse and buggy down in Amish country. I've done that. I've encountered them right in town.
Never had a traffic problem, but when I camped out there, they kept me awake all night because, like, even apparently late at night, like balls late at night, these people get in their buggies with their horses and they ride around in the dark in their buggies. We slept right next to, pretty much on the other side of some brush and a stone row was the road. And all night long, if we weren't listening to raccoons or weird shit, it was clickety-clack, clickety horseshoes just even at 3 in the morning and shit. But I never, like, was driving and I imagine they're pretty...
Move your fucking horse!
They gotta be used to cars now. Don't a lot of Amish people deal coke, or was that just a TV show?
No, that was real. They were selling cocaine while they were out doing their...
and they got cars.
What is it called? The Rumspa? Am I close to that?
You're thinking of Rumspringa, and no, that's for like...
Rumspringa.
No, that's for like 16-year-olds.
Yeah, but they departed from the sect.
You're wrong. There's... Well, no, I think there's even some that sell coke that are still considered... part of the village or whatever.
Well, I think if you've seen that, you saw it on Amish Mafia.
No idea.
But, well, you know...
They make a fucking hell of a shoe fly pie, though.
Here, shoe
Can
fly.
we agree on that?
But, so that's good. So that fits into this. They think of, specialties of Pennsylvania. Obviously, anything to do with Amish country. You mentioned shoe fly pie, which I think is disgusting.
Love it.
Another similar food from the Amish region that I find utterly disgusting is scrapple. Do you know scrapple? You ever have that?
Yeah, I don't fuck with scrapple. I had it when I was a young diner customer, but it was like once or twice, and I said, that's not for me. Scrapple to me sounds like something that would give you the 360s. Shout out to a podcast about something for teaching me what that term means, because now it applies to way more of my life than I ever thought.
What, that you've 360'd that many times?
That I've had the 360s. I like putting it that way because it sounds like a case of something, right? Like, oh, you came down with the 360s.
So I think scrapple, for the record, I believe is made of the part of the pigs that they reject at the Spam Factory.
What somebody told me once was that scrapple is basically like if a pig got murdered by a flamethrower and all the shit that just like melted off of them became food, it would be scrapple.
It's snouts and hooves.
See?
And cornmeal.
Fucking gross. When I was a kid, and you probably remember, they used to be out on your way to the store, Elvern Farms. You could buy pig feet in there, you could buy tongues from cows, you could buy like snouts.
My old man eats pig's feet. That's disgusting. And I thought that was more of a southern thing than a Pennsylvania thing, but it might be a Pennsylvania thing.
I thought so too, because the dad from Friday, he's about the pig's feet.
Oh, okay.
The dog catcher, Ice Cube's dad.
Yep.
He was all about it.
All right, well, let's take a same lane left-hand turn. Foods that aren't disgusting that we can thank as being Pennsylvania natives. Tasty cake.
Tasty cake's a good one. A-Treat soda.
A-Treat soda. There you go. That just came back recently. Beautiful thing.
Not for on
it's no Faygo, but it's a great local
doesn't
soda
matter.
pop.
And if you played at any point in the 90s or probably 80s of the Bangor Little League, you knew that if you hit a home run, you got a free case of A-Treat from the concession stand.
Did you really?
Hell yes. And I bet you I can think of a few people that probably drank juvenile diabetes amounts of A-Treat soda from smacking homers.
A fun memory that A-Treat brings to mind, and this is something you would have to at least be my age or older to remember. I remember going over to my grandma's house, and they still sold the A-Treat in the glass bottles. And when you got done with your case of glass bottles of A-Treat, you took them back to the Lane Co. And they'd actually, like you still see on a lot of glass bottles, 5-cent deposit, no deposit, and yada, 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 whatever state. People used to actually do that. You'd bring them back to the store and you'd get $1 for your case of glass bottles or whatever.
I'm not a food historian, but I would throw pierogies out there, Polish pierogies. I think that's a Pennsylvania thing.
I would think that was how I was introduced to it. Well, no,
See, I knew it'd be up for dispute, but you can't challenge me on it, because whatever you say, I'll just be like, okay.
Well, I don't plan to research it live or anything, but my only debate would be if you mentioned the Polish connection, if they're directly of a Polish descent, would be they might have come in through Chicago. I mean, I think Chicago is the biggest, to this day, the biggest Polish contingent in America. And the general upper Midwest area has a lot of Polish Minnesota, places like that.
Is Tomato Pie Pennsylvania? I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tomato Pie.
Seems only local.
Whether that's Pennsylvania or not, how many times has it saved you?
I love tomato pie. Some would call it cold pizza with no cheese, but they don't understand the intricate differences that makes tomato pie a special treat. Because I don't like cold pizza otherwise, ironically enough. But I do like tomato pie. Because I just don't think that the cheese, when it's cold and hard, is an appealing thing to eat.
Tomato pie's not pizza.
I gotta warm her up.
It will give you fucking mad pizza level heartburn, though.
Yep. But I think we're forgetting the most famous of foods.
Ring bologna.
I wasn't going ring bologna, but ring bologna is good.
Didn't somebody make a documentary about ring bologna and how PA it is? I didn't see it, but I think it exists.
You know what? You're right. I remember hearing about that. It's something like that. Or maybe it was even on fucking Scrapple, but no.
No, it was ring bologna.
Because they filmed part of it at Herds or whatever, locally.
Shout out to Herds. I don't know, it's been a long time since I bought meat there, but they would cut that steak piece right off of the cow for you.
We are giving some of these local businesses the best advertising they've ever had.
If you can dig on ring bologna, then you probably also appreciate beef sticks, which I don't think have to be necessarily PA, but the smoked beef sticks, tell me those aren't badass and kind of ring bologna-ish.
I've never had that specific. I can just imagine something akin to a Slim Jim or a beef jerky, obviously, but...
It's like a Slim Jim, but it wasn't made by someone who's trying to kill you with sodium. And you can get the smoked ones, but I think...
The sodium is what makes it good, according to some people.
Maybe back in the day, Hertz had beef sticks, I don't know. But the Pennsylvania part with the whole ring bologna thing, and people, depends on where you go. I bet somebody calls it kielbasa only, or...
Smoked sausage.
Maybe there's people.
There's a big difference. Yeah, ring bologna is not smoked sausage or kielbasa.
There you go. Somebody in Twitter land must know if ring bologna exists outside of PA. Because I'm not sure. I think Jersey probably has it. I think, but I don't know about anywhere else.
Well, you mentioned a little earlier in the show, which I thought was funny, as it was a half of a segue into this. You mentioned quates.
I did.
People outside of our general area do not know what a quaite is, so I'm going to describe very quickly. It's a rubber horseshoe, and you throw them onto a slate board.
There are quates. There are quates outside of here, though.
Not slate rubber quates necessarily the way we know them as. They do metal
game,
quates.
Though. You throw a hooped object at a peg.
Yeah.
Except people play with washers that are like this big. They're bigger than $50.
That sounds hard.
But they're little metal washers, and they try to flip them onto hubs just like we do with the rubber ones, except the hubs are flat. They're not on an angle.
Okay, well, they might call that quates, but obviously to us that is not quates.
I think slate quates is what we should call our game from around here. And pitching quates...
But nobody plays any of the other type of quates, so therefore it's irrelevant.
Sure, but just when you thought there was no better accompanying... For me, dude, if I'm at the bar if I'm going to put time in there, rather than pool, rather than shuffleboard, rather than whatever hoops, I'd rather pitch quates, and I'm sure.
Oh, damn right.
I'm sure there's no bars we could go to in Boston or New York or Philly, even, or Baltimore, where you could pitch quates.
That's my point. Even though there might be other types of games called quates, it certainly does not have the prevalence or the popularity that slate quates enjoy in the eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey region.
See, I thought this whole time that you dug up some badass food that we didn't know was strictly Pennsylvania.
Well, no, but I still didn't get to number one because you cut me off with your ring bologna.
Fucking don't ever leave it out again, and it won't happen.
No, you almost caused me to leave out motherfucking cheesesteaks.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm going to tweet
You know you're from Pennsylvania if you've argued over where the best cheesesteak is.
I'm going to tweet at Kunstler and let him know that they might as well just withdraw from being a sponsor because of your shit talking.
Well, if you'd stop trying to get all the third-rate pork processors to sponsor us...
I don't care. They make ring bologna.
We need more classy sponsors like the Vineyards.
Now you're talking. Now you're suddenly classy because you're holding a wine glass all day.
That's right.
No, that doesn't make you classy. There's probably people who drink orange juice out of wine glasses. Tell me how classy that is, right?
Well, if it's like a mimosa or a screwdriver or whatever.
Do you morning drink ever? Do you do an eye opener?
Well, you know I do because I work fucking third shift.
Well, yeah, but I mean before that.
Oh, no. No, I never
did the old get straight trick, the hair of the dog.
Well, no. Well, in my world, that would mean having a 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock beer, which I have done on rare occasions and then gone into work.
To me, there's nothing better, whether it's in the morning or whether it's like at dinner time after a long day. But if you're in a position where you can get away with having a beer or two, what beats a shower beer? Nothing does.
Never done it.
Shower beer, if you have a glass bottle and not a can, and you can put that shit on your little body wash shelf or whatever, it's tits. Try it out. Go do it now. Take a shower at my house and drink a beer in there. You'll jump on board so fast.
Are you prepared to have to unclog the drain from all the hair?
I do it for my wife. So you just have a different color fur. Maybe I could start selling wigs on eBay to third world countries.
You have a spiked plumber snake and industrial strength liquid plumber at the ready anytime you need it. So a couple more real quick things here. Things that only Pennsylvanians I think would really understand. Do other people in America really treat Groundhog Day like we do? Groundhog Day is like a national holiday around here.
You mean where I'm usually working, or I just like watch Groundhog Day a couple times on streaming?
Well, you're totally right. As a movie, Groundhog Day blows away the actual day of the groundhog and that little fat furry fucking thing.
There is no appropriate Groundhog Day celebration outside of the way they fucking get down in Pittsburgh.
I've thought about doing it. Oh, does Pittsburgh have satellite?
Well, no.
Groundhog parties, but
people from Pittsburgh can easily drive over there, and they make it a huge party. No, that is strictly PA.
Maybe that'll be our excuse to go visit Frank next time out in Peaburg.
Well, the Punxsutawney, I saw signs for it last time I was out there.
Okay, Pittsburgh's awesome. I do want to visit again, very much so. I want to go to the Warhol Museum out there. There's a natural history museum that sounds good.
You know what we should do next time we're in Pittsburgh?
Do a podcast from Pittsburgh?
We should do a podcast where we bring Frank on as a guest.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's an interesting idea. That would be so out of left field, he'd probably love that.
That'd be dope. One way or the other, podcasting from Pittsburgh would be the shit.
We have our studio in such a setup that it could be mobilized as needed.
Throw it right in Frank's kitchen.
Nice.
Perfect size room. It's the same size room as our studio. That's a great place to talk about wrestling. Pittsburgh has a great wrestling history.
Very much so. Beyond, most obviously Bruno Sammartino.
Kurt Angle.
Franchise. WWE commentator deluxe Corey Graves.
Mayor Betty.
Well, Mayor Betty is somebody that only true Pennsylvanians can understand.
For anybody in Pennsylvania who knows the mayor of Homestead, Pennsylvania, Betty, she is fucking waist deep in PA wrestling history. I admire her. I want to shake her hand. I want her to give me a grandma kiss on the cheek.
She is a piece of fucking work. We went out
there.
She
can take a bump. How awesome is that?
She ain't scared, man. The thing that I found amazing about Pittsburgh in that area is that while it's obviously a bigger city, it somehow manages to hold on to a little bit of that local, smaller town community charm that most other cities that size can't possibly keep.
The other times that
great.
True or false, when you went there without me, you stopped in at the Rock Room.
At the
end of the street where Frank lives.
We did not visit the Rock Room on that trip, I don't think.
Well, that's one we'll have to check. That's a box.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. We did. We went down there the first night because we played some pinball.
Exactly.
We did hit that up a little bit.
Shout out the Rock Room, because you want to talk about having a town inside of a city. That's one of your ideal dive bars right there. And I don't mean that in a...
Over in the...
I'm not talking shit.
For people who know Pittsburgh, that's over in the Polish Hill District.
I guess you're right. I don't know. It's over in the $5 for a pounder of PBR district.
I think it's funny that we just had this whole discussion about pierogies in Pennsylvania and Polish, and then I go and point out, oh yeah, Pittsburgh has the Polish district.
There was a lot of P's in that.
So I guess maybe the pierogies did come into Pittsburgh through the Polish district into Pennsylvania?
We'll have to revisit that. People on Twitter might know. If anybody on Twitter considers themselves a subject matter expert on Polish pierogies or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or anything else that starts with a P.
I have a feeling we're going to get more likely responses from the Twitterverse of what the fuck is a pierogi? Hey, we love life in Pennsylvania.
Anyway, though, before I want to cheers you on. That was a good call with the Papa Red from Tolino's.
I like that. I see. Well, we've both emptied our glasses, and you've got some beers over there ready to go for round 2.
I was hoping you'd let me unveil because I faced the labels away from you. Now, I know you have...
They're perspiring because we've left them out this whole show thus far because we're fools.
Do you remember one time when we were drinking at somebody's house and someone made a hilarious comment about being disgusted by being offered a perspiring beer?
No, but that sounds pretty pompous of them.
Beer Snob Talk 101.
Beer Snob Talk.
I had somebody tell me, don't hand me your perspiring beer. And I was like, oh, geez. But this particular one, and I know you have a love-hate with IPAs, yes or no?
Pretty much.
Hop Hunter. Not exactly a hole-in-the-wall microbrew. Everybody knows Sierra Nevada.
Oh, yeah.
But Hop Hunter, it's dope. It's tasty. It's crispy. It's fucking yums. But on top of that, they tell you on the label they use hop oil, which has actually been... It's really not an additive because it's coming from the hops that's already in the beer. But it's kind of like if you could take flavoring in liquid form from the food you made and just like go back over the food with that liquid stuff to double season it. That's what they did with this beer. It's called Hop Hunter because it's super hoppy, obviously, but the oil I think you'll be surprised by. I think you'll like it. You can have one if you want. There you go.
Is hop oil anything like CBD oil?
No, it doesn't have other properties. It's just it gives the flavor more kick.
First thing, speaking of having cheers. Speaking of having kick, the first thing I got to look at is alcohol content 6.2.
I love Sierra Nevada.
That's about what I consider a nice IPA. Well, a typical IPA to taste like. Pretty good.
They have other IPAs that are also good, but this one, I don't know. Something about it just, I know this flavor. If I did a blind taste test with beers and it was like 5 different IPAs, I'd be able to pick Hop Hunter out.
Nice.
I don't know how many other ones I would get. I think I'd probably know Yard's IPA because that one's the bomb. Anybody outside of the Philly region, if you're listening from outside of Philly or Northeast PA, you can still get Yard's beer, which is brewed in Philly. It's delicious. Most of their shit's tight. But the Yard's IPA is yummy. I'd know that one, and I'd know this one. I bet you. I bet you I would.
Okay, so you know what people need to know? People need to know where to find us elsewhere on the internet.
You want me to do plugs?
We haven't done plugs yet.
You do plugs.
I'm going to do plugs. All right. So I've recently cracked the seal, and Mike has generally taken the charge on most of the social media work, and I've done the nuts and bolts of the situation. But I have started to post legitimately on Twitter. Our Twitter. So what do you call that then? Just our account? Twitter account, our Twitter name, our Twitter. It ain't a Twitter page. You've yelled at me for using that phrase.
See, if I put myself out there and say Twitter handle because I think that's right, then I'm sure some internet hipster is gonna put in the comments like, "Oh, Twitter handle." Ooh,
hold on,
that's something you don't hear since 2010.
10-4, good buddy. Here's a better one. Hold on. I got this, Mike. I'm gonna make this sound like I know what I'm saying. You can find us on Twitter at Shoedogg M. Right now, we got it posted on SoundCloud, Shoedogg and Mike Podcast. We've got them up on YouTube, Shoedogg and Mike Podcast. Like it all, follow it, tell your friends. We'll get more episodes as we roll on here. I think we need to move on. No, I just want your hot take on this, which I thought was some great news from the world of rock and roll I just heard today.
If you're sure you want a hot take from me,
I want a hot take from you.
Do it.
Brian Johnson and AC/DC have gotten, things are settled. Brian Johnson's hearing is okay. They're recording a new album. And yes, they're old, but it's nice to know that apparently AC/DC is back in the saddle without Axl Rose filling in as the singer. That was cool to hear.
My hot take is, if you're one of those people that wants to go see legacy bands until they're literally dead, then go for it.
I knew you were going to go there, and I'm not saying that as some...
I'm not talking shit. Def Leppard was great when I saw them, but they're a legacy band.
Yeah, but I just think it's still just nice to hear that what looked... I mean, and you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe in a way it's better that a band, for whatever reason, comes to an end before they just drive it into the ground where they're incredibly old and can't do it anymore. I just think the unexpected nature when, you hear... It's kind of like Roman Reigns coming back from a deadly cancer prognosis within 6 months.
You're correct. The fact that he gets to do his, redeeming run, you don't want to go out on that note. You don't want to never sing for AC/DC again.
That's what I'm saying. It was happy to hear that he's going to be back in black one more time. Hey, hey.
It depends on what your attitude is. I'm not one of these fucking hipsters that thinks... The shit you think is cool today was cool to me 3 months ago. I'm not like that. If you like something, enjoy the fuck out of it. Because one day you're going to be dead, and you're never going to enjoy anything again. So if you've heard Whitesnake's Is This Love 64,000 times...
And it still gets your dick hard to go see Whitesnake play again.
And it still makes you want to put on red lipstick and fucking some 80s gear and get fucked, do it. Go see AC/DC with Brian Johnson. Go see fucking... You know what? My dad and I had... a good time seeing Boston without Brad
Delp.
Brad Delp, the original singer. We saw it with Michael Sweet from Stryper, and it was still a rockin' good time.
I am so glad you brought up Boston. I'm going to hit you over the head with some absolutely ridiculous trivia right now.
Hit me hard.
All right, so in the world of celebrity weddings... I see your eyes roll because you're like, what kind of TMZ shit is Shoedogg going to throw at me right here? The Rock got married recently. And who did The Rock marry?
She's cute.
Oh, you've seen her?
Yep.
She's the daughter of the original drummer from Boston.
Yeah, but she could have, even if nobody she knew was ever even at a Boston concert, marrying The Rock would have... I mean, she's automatically
Yeah. She was famous for being Boston's drummer's daughter. Now she's The Rock's wife. Good for her.
That's awesome. I mean, what a better arrangement for anybody. I'd fucking marry The Rock. If Dwayne Johnson was like, oh my god, I can't resist you, I'd tell my wife, I'd be like, this is what's best.
Don't worry, I'm going to sign a prenup.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the first time he tries to give it to me in the ass, I'll accuse him of a spousal abuse and get half of everything.
I wonder if chicks ever rub their pussy on the people's eyebrow. His wife probably doesn't, and that's why he married her. He's like, you're the first one that's never rubbed your crotch on the Rock's eyebrow.
Well, fuck the eyebrow. Remember when he used to, if you smell, and he'd get his tongue wagging out? That's the maneuver that he uses. He gets deep in there and does the old tongue waggle.
Yeah, but that was a Plan B gimmick because he knows who Gene Simmons is. That's the tongue.
That is true.
You've seen it.
I can't argue that.
You probably thought of a couple places that tongue could do work. We all have.
No, I've never thought of Gene Simmons in much any of a positive way, and certainly never in anything that he could do with his fucking tongue. Shannon Tweed likes his tongue, though.
Whatever you say, man.
He's still married to Shannon Tweed, right?
She's hot.
She is still hot, and she's 60 now.
Doesn't matter.
I rubbed a few out to her back in the day.
Tell me you wouldn't bang the right 60-year-old.
Well, yeah. That's neither here nor there.
Hot doesn't know a number.
If we're talking legitimately hot, I mean, most 60-year-olds aren't going to fit into that category. Although Demi Moore's looking pretty good. I just saw her at 55 naked on Vanity Fair again.
She volunteered for some CIA program or something. She's all metal or something. She's not a real person.
She's all metal, and you don't mean that in a headbanging way. You mean she's bionic?
What was the movie she was a
plastic,
stripper in?
as it were? Striptease.
Yep. Yeah, that was when she did the deal.
She got paid a lot of money to show her titties in that movie.
They took all her bones and skin off, and they replaced it with this. They're gonna make spy robots that look like Demi Moore, and she was the prototype. She's the T-800. Because she was so hot in that movie, and how many years ago was that? And she was still already kind of past her prime in that movie.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm not so sure she's past her prime just yet. Only, again, like you said, only in the world of numbers. If somebody thinks 54 or 55 equates useless and old.
I just didn't like her in Ghost because as a preteen, she made me question my sexuality. I'm like, ooh, She's a hot little boy in this movie. With the short hair.
Fuck.
Nevertheless, I tip my hat because she held it together. And you're right, some people don't age well.
Nope.
I'm not saying I'd hit any 60-year-old piece.
Well, if you've got enough money, though, you can always age well.
Well, yeah.
Generally speaking.
And if you have enough money, you don't even really need to age well to attract people because they'll want you for your money.
Well, you're damn right.
I would fuck an old rich woman.
I know you would.
I mean, only if we had pre-arranged for her to load me up with mad amounts of unmarked bills. Because if she's gonna leave me high and dry, and my wife will slit my throat or something, then it's not worth it. But if I get like a couple $100 milli just for going down and doing the deed,
I guarantee you would do the deed on an 80-year-old woman for a whole lot less than hundreds of milli.
If it was Demi Moore, I'd try to extort her for all she's worth, man. You don't get an opportunity like that twice in a lifetime.
Well, now you're back to Demi Moore. For a minute, you were talking about an actual elderly woman.
Well, who's older than her that's still holding up that's kind of hot that you would fuck? You're going to have to dig deep, I think.
Yeah, well...
She's what, 60?
No, she's like 54, 55. I'll tell you what, I bet Jennifer Aniston's getting close to that age range, and she's still looking good. She's still in her 40s?
I bet you she's like... No, she's over 50, but I bet you she's like probably 51.
Between 50 and 55, same fucking range.
She will be fuckable when she is just a memory.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
She's held up better than probably any woman going into her 50s.
No, I'm talking about the ones who you actually acknowledge are getting older, but they still are hot. Like Jennifer Aniston looks 27. That doesn't count.
Oh, you mean you're talking about that more mature sexuality?
That was my whole point about Demi Moore being a sex robot, because clearly she had work done. And if you have a bunch of work done and you were hot to begin with, of course you're going to look hot when you're 50, 40, whatever.
Right.
I'm talking about the more mature, distinguished-looking broads.
Elizabeth Taylor?
You can go there if you want. I wouldn't. Nope.
She's been dead for years, so I don't think I'm going to go there either.
Not even for millies? Not even for mad loot?
Well, if somebody else dug her up, I'd consider it, but I'm not going to do all that work.
You're a sick fuck, man. Just when I assume that... You know, we were talking earlier, before we came together today to record, and you were in awe of me being obscene and grotesque, and I started thinking, maybe I am a little more rough under the edges than you. And then
you're not.
Then you come out with that shit, and I'm like, oh, right. Everything's still the same.
Yeah, don't ever feel that you can out-fucked up me.
Good job.
You're damn right. All right, so let's change gears here. Something I wanted to get to actually last episode. I had plans to segue into this from we had our little discussion at the end about the wrestling magazines and Mr. Bill Apter.
I dig it.
Now, Bill Apter was a part of setting up a big angle in the history of pro wrestling, and that's what's going to lead me into this. And what I want to get your feelings on, because Bill Apter put this together. Back in the mid-'80s, you've probably seen the film-movie version of this, called Man on the Moon. And I'm referring to Andy Kaufman's involving with Jerry Lawler.
Oh, sure.
Which, Apter set up, and it was a brilliant angle. Andy Kaufman went there, always loved pro wrestling, really wanted to be involved in it. Insulted the shit out of those Southern people.
I knew you were going to go old school.
Well, we can bring it in, again, it's just to introduce the topic, and I'm only saying this because my initial idea was to bring it in out of the Bill Apter conversation last episode.
I'm not knocking it. I thought it was extra dope, in fact, that Lawler agreed to be in the film adaptation. That was kind of badass.
No, it's one of my, I won't say one of my favorite movies, but it's a movie that I really like, and in fact, they put there's a documentary on Netflix now, behind the scenes of making Man on the Moon, that Jim Carrey and his girlfriend recorded, featuring a lot of him. As it was always said when he made the movie, he was in character as Andy Kaufman, backstage and everything else, and it shows a lot of that. But, I think that's an example of one of, certainly, the most successful crossover appearances by a celebrity into the game of professional wrestling. And by celebrity, I'll say, musician, athlete from another sport, movie person, whomever.
Celebrity.
Yeah. Anybody who's famous for not being a pro wrestler gets involved in pro wrestling. Yes, that's a very old school example. What are some of your favorites through the years?
Dude, as soon as that comes up, first thing pops in my head is fucking Bam Bam and LT.
Lawrence Taylor.
That was dope. Those two were legit badasses who, outside being on TV, would be a fucking sick fight to watch in like a regular biker bar or something.
Oh, that'd be more fun.
And on top of that, LT, maybe best defensive football player of all time, and Bam Bam were both those guys that were like, oh shit, they're big and they're super athletic and shit. And you believed it. They looked like grown-ass men that were getting ready to rip each other apart. Not a couple of underwear models that are like, but I have a stapler, you know? And other celebrities that I didn't care for as much. I will say, though, if we did this podcast 20 years ago, I would have been shit-talking on David Arquette winning the WCW belt quite a bit. But in hindsight, being 2020, the fact that he decided to put the work in and actually make towns.
Right.
Now I can't be quite as ready to rip his nuts off.
Well, you shouldn't be ripping his nuts off anyway. You should be ripping off the nuts of everybody's favorite Vince Russo, because David Arquette did not want to be given the WCW title in 2000. He was against the idea because he knew how people would feel about it, because he understood wrestling. However, he went along with it. I know he dedicated all the money he earned during that run to charity. So it wasn't Arquette's idea. Arquette thought it was a bad idea. He just played along.
You're the go-to on WCW, though. I wouldn't have known any of that.
Don't shit on David Arquette. Shit on Vinny Rue.
No, but Bam Bam LT is the automatic one. And then I think the other one that I found the most entertaining was the recurring bit of Pete Rose getting his shit pushed in by Kane every year.
That's right.
That was a lot of fun.
The mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, Kane.
Especially the San Diego chicken bit and all that. That shit was tight.
Okay, so if you're saying that, then we're going to say that we're including celebrity involvement. It doesn't have to necessarily mean they wrestled a match. That being said, I don't know if it's my favorite, but what would you consider, I know what I'm thinking, to be the most actual successful, money-making promotional vehicle that came out of a celebrity involvement in wrestling? Like, which one fucking hit the moon and worked and was greatly successful?
Am I saying this with the benefit of knowing everything I know now?
I suppose so.
Battle of the Billionaires with Trump and fucking McMahon, because the dude is president now, and he is as much of a wrestling character as any other non-wrestler I can think of.
Shit.
And that shit was, you know, you can say the match was kind of garbagey because nobody really jumped out of their seat and fucking marked out for Umaga or Bobby Lashley. So, whatever. So-so match. Don't remember it. I was physically there. I was at WrestleMania. I was in the crowd. I was not in the nosebleeds. I was soaking it all in. I don't give a fuck about that match. But Trump and his little run-up to that, feuding with Vince, which basically the two of them they could be twins when it comes to their behavior and shit and their attitude.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to say something hit the moon, I mean, that wrestling character that you saw on TV is now the non-televised, like, non-fictional drama real person who runs the country.
Yeah, well, and I do know that at the time was the most bought WrestleMania, so you're right, it was an incredibly successful event at the time and the long ongoing effect.
Yeah, and that goes all the way back to, I don't know how many years ago, because I'm not hip, and I don't surf the web anymore. Somebody has to prod me to surf the web. Hey, you should go to this website. But when I used to surf the web, I would go to the wrestling sites, and I remember somebody saying, like, oh, well, yeah, he's the only president to ever sell the Stone Cold Stunner. And I'm like, why are we all elbowing each other about that being funny and a good thing? Like, that's fucking horrible. The president should never be on wrestling.
Well, he did that before he was...
Doesn't matter. If he had those aspirations, you mean to tell me he thought of running like a week before he entered the race?
Mike, we know for a fact he never actually had those aspirations. It was a backfired publicity stunt, and the stupid fuck actually won. He didn't want to win. He shouldn't have won. He didn't intend to win. He didn't want this job. Yeah. Just by running, he would have tripled in his mind his name value and the value of the trademark that is his organization and his licensed name. That's what he wanted to get out of this.
I guess your original question was more about like celebrities who may have appeared in the ring and taken a bump or something.
Well, no, not even that. Just more so like, from what I was thinking as far as, I mean more so as far as a celebrity involvement that really goosed business.
I was going to say, I don't consider like Aretha Franklin doing American Beautiful to be one of those.
Oh, no, that wouldn't be. No, I do mean
Liberace
getting in the ring.
At WrestleMania.
No, I do mean getting in the ring. Whether or not it was a full match or not. So anyway, I'm going to go out. Mine? Tyson at WrestleMania 14.
Oh, that was tits.
Because that helped. That really put the gas on the fire of the Attitude Era.
Peak Attitude Era, and without throwing any famous or non-famous person under the bus, pretty badass considering when they had that standoff with Austin and Tyson. You know, both of those gentlemen actually knew a thing or two about having a run-in with law enforcement over some assault and battery.
Uh-huh.
So it made it kind of gave that extra dimension of this is not forced. This is not like we had to really get these guys in character. They were just two badasses who were ready to fuck each other up.
Yep.
That was the tits.
Well, that's what I mean. It was pulled off greatly. It was a lot of fun to watch. And again, I think the amount of publicity it brought WWE, that made Stone Cold the fucking megastar that he became.
Well,
so I can't think of another celebrity involvement that paid off better. Maybe that's the way to put it.
But to your point,
Tyson.
To your point, though, did Tyson actually boost them, or was Austin peaking anyway? And Shawn's awesome heel work made it that much sweeter when Tyson knocked him out. I don't think Tyson lifted the whole thing. I think he was a great piece. He needed to be in that.
Yeah, but he got that. But he got the WWF back in the newspapers and back on TV during a time that WCW was getting all the mainstream publicity.
You're going to get us fucking sued.
For what?
You said WW something.
Well, they were at the time.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I don't know how this works.
beep.
You got an episode of ours getting the fish hooks from the powers that be over a fucking intro song.
Well, thankfully...
What song was that again? Remind me.
The Joey Ramone song was kept in.
No. The one that they pulled it for. And then the next one,
I know, that's what I'm...
What was it, like Cat Stevens or something?
No, it was the song that you picked. No, we got away with that. I don't even fucking remember.
R.I.P. Eddie Money, though. No matter what the intro song was.
It's one of those things, unfortunately, you ever notice whenever somebody becomes public that they're dealing with a health issue, that probably means they've already pretty much been given the death sentence and they want to get the word out before they actually die.
So you got Tyson, I got LT. Can I have like a runner-up?
And I've got 2 tickets to Paradise.
Can I have a runner-up?
Yeah, of course.
Gronkowski. Only for the reason that when he jumped the rail, the security didn't know he was a celebrity and she tried to restrain him. Legit.
Okay, so you're just saying as far as a fun appearance, you thought it was
wonderful. No, but then he got in the ring and he fucking loaded up a finisher and...
Well, yeah, but it didn't do shit for business because he wasn't even promoted ahead of time. So, I mean, that's a whole different
He pancaked Mojo Rawley. That was about as much entertainment as you could ever get out of Mojo Rawley.
If you want to get deep on that, this fucking tall guy who I guess plays the basketball for the Celtics just won the 24/7 title for 9 seconds.
That's kind of fun.
On an online exclusive. That was fun.
I don't hate that gimmick.
I'm not hating on... No, not at all. And I'm not hating on that event. That was fun.
Let's have celebrities just pass the 24/7 title around and bring it to different award shows.
So let me think. I mean, I had Tyson in mind just to referencing what I consider to be the most useful celebrity involvement, the one that really set things off. But let's think of some of the other great ones. I mean, in WCW, you had all the other NFL players getting involved.
Is Tyson on Twitter?
I'm sure.
We should tweet this at him. We should be like, yo, listen to our podcast. We talked about how badass you were at WrestleMania 14. That would blow us up like nothing. We'd be so big. Like you said, he brought them up. He brought the whole Attitude Era vibe to the show. We could get him to be like, take this fucking shit down right now. Or I'm going to knock you both out with a right uppercut and you won't even be able to hit the select button.
Ha! You won't be able to get Doc to give you the handy that brings your life back.
Oh, there's a fun one. Throwback real quick. Did you ever beat Mike Tyson on Nintendo?
I never got to play the Mike Tyson variant, only the Mr. Dream variant. But I beat Mr. Dream, yep.
He had the same moves as Tyson.
Exactly. It was fighting the exact same character, but he was white. And he had a different haircut.
Well, now it makes sense.
And he didn't bite your ears off or rape you.
There you go. That was probably President Trump's favorite Nintendo game. I like it when they replaced the black guy.
Why did you refer to him as President Trump?
That's his name. Whatever.
No, it's not. His name is Donald Trump.
Who gives a shit?
And he's currently playing the role of President of the United States.
You know what would piss me off
more? A role
more?
he never should have been cast in.
People can say President Trump all they want. I'd be more angry at somebody calling a Pop-Tart like a heated strudel or something. That would aggravate me. President Trump is true. I don't care. Whatever. Nothing's forever.
Okay, so...
Wrestling celebrities.
Here's one for you. Jay Leno in WCW.
Terrible. Shit show.
Damn right it
was. Was that the pay-per-view with the bikers?
Yep. That
was in South Dakota?
It was Eric Bischoff's fucking public jack-off session.
I watched
to
that.
Get himself over.
I watched that pay-per-view with my friend Jody. I'll be completely honest with you. That was back in the days where people had not Dish Network or DirecTV, but they had like the straight-up satellite dishes.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he ordered that on satellite, and this was at a time where I could give two shits about WCW.
But again,
I'm not lying. I pretty much
and it did suck. But again, you can wonder, and it probably didn't. The whole point of bringing celebrities into wrestling is to get outside publicity. Obviously, say what you will, having Jay Leno involved in WCW put them fucking center stage on the Tonight Show.
Rodman was way better.
But either way, the company was in a downward spiral then that he didn't help at all. Rodman?
No, Rodman.
Oh, Rodman. Well, we can't forget Rodman. Fucking Kim Jong-un's favorite American. Well, second favorite American.
I think you can see where that trend is going. The pro athletes make better crossovers than the random TV assholes do.
They just put out ESPN did a 30 for 30 on Rodman that just came out recently. I wonder if that's any interesting.
My favorite internet treasure of recent history is the photo from, I want to say, Ric Flair's wedding.
Woo!
With him, Undertaker out of character, holding two whiskeys at the same time, and Dennis Rodman, and they're all cheesing for the fucking camera.
Was Undertaker wearing a fanny pack?
No, he was like I said, totally out of character, wedding appropriate. Just looked like a biker that came to a wedding. And Rodman was there in all of his fucking Rodman-ness.
You mean Rodman doesn't look like he came to a wedding? He looks like Rodman?
No.
He's wearing a suit. He's
his own dude. He doesn't need to be in character as Dennis Rodman. He is a character. That's where, the marketing comes in when you bring a celebrity into a wrestling match or an event, because they also need to have something that sucks the wrestling fans towards them.
Yeah.
Like, not just, oh, well, great news, Ryan Seacrest is guest ring announcing this week. I think I'll punch myself in the fucking eye and drink bleach.
Yeah, that shit means nothing. Like, remember when Raw, you weren't watching Raw during that era where they had the
guest
celebrity
GMs?
Guest GM every week? On rare occasion, those led to some fun segments, but as a whole, certainly a bad idea.
There's no way that could have ever been fun to watch.
It was trying to make Raw like SNL. Like, and next week your host is Ashton Kutcher.
That's stupid. The only way that would have ever been...
Actually, he was okay on Raw because he likes wrestling and he got along with it. He was one of their better GMs, as I recall.
Who's the one that got chokeslammed?
Probably a lot of them. I know Mark Cuban got beat up when he appeared. Every time he appears, he gets beat up.
No. Like your Ryan Seacresty, straight man, TV personality, Carson Daly looking motherfucker.
No
Who's
idea.
the one that got chokeslammed?
No idea. Don't know who you're talking about.
You know what I mean, though.
I get the vibe what type of person you're referring to, but I can't think of that particular instance.
I think that's the best we gain from having celebrities crossover, is just that we can always hold out hope that some celebrity's going to take some sick bump.
Well, and I mean, I think it's cool, as being fans of wrestling, which is considered by many people, whatever, a low-class form of entertainment. It's cool when you see these people that are respected for other realms coming out and showing that they enjoy pro wrestling by getting involved in it. I think that's really cool.
Is Lawler and Kaufman what you led off with, because you also gave them credit for the whole breaking the fourth wall thing?
I don't know about breaking the fourth wall, but I mean, they were on David Letterman with that. I mean, I think that had to be
during the kayfabe days.
And during the kayfabe days, I think I think that's one of the earliest big examples of a wrestling entertainment crossover. So that's why I thought that was a good segue.
Sure.
I mean, prior to that, you didn't see very much of it. You know, every now and again, like a former boxing champ like Joe Louis or somebody would referee a fight.
It's so mainstream now.
But a legitimate entertainer and actor getting involved in wrestling was so unheard of.
I bet you that even people who listen to this show that don't watch wrestling are fully aware of what it is nowadays. It's not like the early 90s where they'd do a news release about WrestleMania and a bunch of people would go, oh, what's that silly carnival business? Nowadays, it's like, how many people probably watch Glow on Netflix?
Right.
Which is, when you really think about it, a pretty obscure piece of wrestling history. It's not like they went with the most obvious choice for content.
I think all that needs to be said about the public's acceptance of wrestling for what it is, and even I question whether it belongs there or not, but that's fine, is the fact that ESPN.com has a WWE section these days.
I thought you were going to say Nacho Libre. I'm sorry. If you're about Jack Black.
Do you know that Jack Black and Jack White just made a recording together?
I'm sure it's fun. Jack White's all about, like, isn't he the one that's all about, like, trying to experiment with sounds?
Yes, yeah. Well, he's
fucking with his guitars and shit.
Well, and he's got his little one-man studio, I think he calls it, where you can record a track that's pressed directly onto vinyl. A lot of artists have recorded tracks in there. It's like a viral video online thing he posts videos of.
Because he has his own vinyl press?
Yep.
So does Metallica.
Do they?
Yeah.
Nice.
That as soon as they had that record company made up, where they were going to buy back their masters,
yeah,
I think right around the same time, they got a vinyl press. And so, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, which I got as a Christmas gift, on vinyl, those vinyls are badass. They have this, it's like, you've seen them. Have you seen them? Did you see my copies?
Do they have, like, are they colored vinyl? Or are they,
yeah,
like,
they are.
artwork on them?
They're, like, dark. They're, like, blood red.
Yeah, a lot of artists. It is so ironic that there's now more money to be made for artists in selling vinyl than selling CDs again.
I think vinyls are sweet.
That is the definition of I've gotten back in the game a little bit. The thing that I found ironic, and this pisses me off, Mike. This pisses me off. I have bought brand new vinyl copies of both Tom Petty's final album and the most recent Red Hot Chili Peppers album. Both of them have several points on which they skip. Brand new, out of the package vinyl. Meanwhile, I bought a 50-year-old original copy or original-ish copy of Tommy from The Who for like $1. And it's got the pops and the hisses that you expect from vinyl, but it don't skip. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, you overcharged $25 for a new vinyl, and thus far I have had nothing but almost every one of them have had a defect in them. And that's kind of disconcerting. Maybe I've just had really bad luck, and that's an exception to the norm. But that's kind of frustrating to think that, they're charging so much for these as a collector's item, and yet they're apparently made rather shoddily.
That's trippy.
Have you tried to play your Metallica, or you just have it as a collector's item?
No.
Yeah.
But that whole thing's trippy to me.
That's shitty, ain't it? But ironic in a way.
I was way saturated in that before I would have had the chance to listen to the vinyl copy. But it's just, vinyl itself is just so trippy. Because you can, right? I mean, you're crushing little pieces of vinyl to store memories of musical performances.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's what an MP3 used to be.
People think technology is so badass nowadays, where you can stream everything and download everything. How about the fact that in the fucking 60s and the 50s, they could crush discs with imprints of full-blown studio performances?
So are you saying that in some interesting way you're almost more technologically impressed by analog than digital?
Yes, because analog is more of a fine art. I think if you can master computer software of any kind, then you can master recording software.
Well, yeah.
But I think to be someone who can work with reel-to-reel tape and pressing vinyl and all that shit, it's an artisan subspecialty that's dying out, and it's not the same thing as being a wizard with Pro Tools.
Yeah, well, as somebody, when I first got into radio, there were still a lot of old heads around who had done editing old school on slicing up tape with the razor blades and all. And, talking about, cutting up their fingers and all this. And I was very lucky. I came up into the digital era, which digital editing is wonderful and
You're
easy and fun.
You're way bigger on the history of all that than I am, though. You're steeped in it, and you're also well read on it. To me, I'm like, I can tell you how it changes things for me. Like, obviously, you can probably recall back to when, like, okay, you know the history of what point did radio stations stop trending away towards using reel-to-reel tape? Because if, I'm smart enough to know that it's great sound quality, but if somebody said, when did they start phasing out? I'd be like, I don't fucking know, 1993?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about reel-to-reel, but I mean, what was used in radio farther on as far as tape format was a thing called carts, which is what they would record commercials and stuff on.
Those like 8 tracks?
Yep, exactly. It looked like a little 8 track, and you could load it up, and it would just play that commercial, and then it would re-loop so it could play that commercial again.
That was my best guess.
Yep, so that went on into about the mid-'90s, but by the mid-'90s, everything, music was played off of CDs, and then by the time I started, basically we operated out of basically what looked like kind of like a Winamp playlist in front of you. You just would have all your elements lined up, and it would fucking fire off the It's no secret that the DJ became little more than just an announcer at that point.
I think there's nothing more anticlimactic than when somebody wants to tell you about this dope track that just dropped or that they just heard, because you realize even if vinyl sales go up, that the whole art form of writing, producing, recording, performing, and touring an album
long gone
is a gimmick now that retro bands use to sell concert tickets. We're going to play the whole whatever on our next tour.
And it is cool, yeah.
But kids now that come up in music that are like, yo, what you bumping from YouTube, son? And it's like, oh, this dubstep version of I've Fallen and I Can't Get Up. Whatever the fuck they dance to while they're all spewing out the mouth on ecstasy. And I don't appreciate it that way. I'm not some hipster, elitist, twat, hippie, fucking liberal, granola-eating douchebag.
Well, you're
that's
pretty
like,
liberal.
But have you heard Crosby, Stills, and Nash live on vinyl? I don't know what vinyl even sounds like. I had a record player, Sesame Street Big Bird record player when I was a kid. Listened to 45s on it. My brother would give me his Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Aerosmith 45s. Front and back, one song each side. And then I had a couple albums, but they were mostly like not music. They were like Scooby-Doo storytelling.
Nice.
Or fucking some other, well-known kids programming.
Raffi?
No. More like, your cartoons that were also on vinyl. But if somebody says, oh yeah, you gotta hear this vinyl, I'll admit it. I don't care if it sounds tacky. I collect fucking Metallica records because I want to have an entire collection of Metallica records. I don't give a shit if I've ever listened to any of them.
Yeah. Sure.
It's just a cool thing.
All right, so thanks for listening.
Yes.
Thank you for hanging out with us once again. We are Shoedogg and Mike. If you have an hour to waste, why not waste it with us? Oh, you know what? Real quick, though, should we do it one more time? Twitter. Shoedogg M on Twitter. Please search us out. You'll get your updates.
Follow. Shove our podcast up more assholes, which we can only do with your help.
And better yet, don't just tell your friends, tell your enemies. They might thank you for it.